Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Riva Paul Chaudhary, and I'm heading Marketing and Operations at Career Cafe. In addition to marketing and operations, I also teach. In fact, teaching is my real passion. You know, management is all right, but the prospect of interacting with students like you is something that gets my day going. And you know something, it's a wonderful feeling to be here in Chandigarh and still be able to interact with all of you sitting so far away in South India. Of course, what is going on right now is a recording, but hopefully someday soon we'll be able to do this real time also. Now, I'll be taking you through this part of the presentation, and we are going to talk about a transition that's going to happen in your life very soon. Very soon, you'll be completing your graduation or completing your engineering and crossing the threshold to a new life. What is this threshold going to be? I know lots of you are thinking, the day I am through with this course, I'm going to get married. I'm sorry, that's not the transition I'm talking about. The transition I'm talking about is from a student life to a professional life. Whether you plan to be an employee or you plan to be an entrepreneur, all right? So, but before you cross this threshold, there are some steps that you need to take. And those steps are the thing we're going to talk about today. So today, we will talk about your career choices, the issues and concerns that you face. Now, I always like to begin my presentation with this basic premise, which is really very important. Please go through it. It says, whatever it was that got you where you are today is not sufficient to keep you there. Now, just put on your thinking hats for a moment and think, what is the thing that got you here? I mean, do you have some capability? Do you have some resources, some aptitude, something in your mind? Or maybe it was just your parents pushing you and pushing you to do engineering, do this, do that, whatever, something got you here today. And the last part of the line says, is it sufficient to keep you there? Or do you need to add on something to it? All right? Now, another question for you. Are you happy just being where you are today? Or do you want to move on to something new and something better? So if you want to move on to something new and something better, there has to be some fundamental change inside you. Now friends, what's the primary objective of this presentation? To take you from being a learner to an efficient earner. Now this is the transition that I was talking about. Now to do this, there are 3 routes that you can take after graduation. The first one is further education. Some of you might opt to go in for post-graduation, MS, MTech, or let's say MBA. Some of you may take employment in a multinational corporation, or you may decide to start something on your own, entrepreneurship. I find this word a little funny, you know, entrepreneurship. They write it as entrepreneurship, and it's pronounced as entrepreneurship. So that's the thing with lots of English words, you know, but basically this is a French word. Now, the journey begins from campus to company. See, whether you decide to go in for higher studies or you decide to move on to a professional life, there are some basic requirements, right? When companies come to your campus to place you, they identify a gap. I want to take you back to the previous slide. Please look at this wide gap between what you are today and between the requirements of the company. I know you all have fantastic technical skills, you have good knowledge, you worked hard, you have good brains and everything. But why this gap? This gap still exists between being a graduate, a technical graduate, and an employable person. So what we're going to talk about is the way in which we're going to bridge this gap. So what are the small baby steps that you need to take when you move from your campus to a company? So take a look at all those happy faces. They're taking a leap over the fence from college life to the gala time they're going to have in a company. Look at all those smiling faces. Now, whatever you opt to do, whether you want to go in for higher studies or you want to take on the leap to professional life, there are some small baby steps that you need to take, and hopefully we will help you or mentor you into taking those small baby steps. Now, today what I'm going to give you is just an overview of what we hope to do with you. These are the modules which will be carried out. I'll discuss each one of them briefly. The first one is effective communication. How would you define, what would you say is effective communication? I wish you were here in front of me so that you could give me some answers and I could get your perspective on what effective communication is. As far as I understand effective communication to be, it's simply something about being able to communicate what you want to say. I know all of you have a lot of knowledge inside your head, but the sad part is when you appear for an interview or meet a person who's professionally senior to you, you're not able to convey this information that is inside your head, or you're not able to make an impact, the kind of impact that's required. I know all of you must have heard the adage that the first impression is the last impression, and that's something that really holds true. So you need to speak properly, good corporate language, that is English, and you need to communicate that what is the potential that's lying inside you. It's a big bad world out there. You need to be able to market yourself, to project yourself as a person that a company needs and requires. The second part is another very, very essential part, which is resume making. Now, if I ask you how many of you have your resumes ready, I'm sure 80% of you will lift up your hands. And if I ask you another question, how many resumes do you have? I'm sure a lot of you are shocked. How many resumes? What? I have one resume. I'm one person. Why do I need multiple resumes? Tell me something. After you leave this college, or before you leave this college, are you going to apply in just one company, or would there be multiple companies? You would have core engineering companies coming in. You would have companies from the manufacturing sector, banks, service companies, telecom companies coming in. Let me give you an example. I am from the education sector or the teaching field. Now, if I am applying or sending my resume to a college or institute, what would be on the top of my resume? It would be, of course, followed by name and personal credentials. It would be my primary objective or my aim. And in that, what would I write? That my aim or my objective is to utilize my experience, my communication skills and knowledge to add value to an educational institutions and the students studying there. So that would be my objective. Similarly, you need to come up with your own individual objectives. Of course, the objective which I gave right now was very brief. It could be maybe 3 to 5 lines. But your objective changes when you send your resume to an educational institute, whether you send it to a manufacturing company or you send it to a bank. Now, why would I send the same objective which talks about my communication skills, my experience in the education sector to a bank? Would that make sense? If I have to talk about my resume or aim or objective to a bank, I would talk about my customer relationship skills or my analytical skills. And what about the projects section of the resume? Would I highlight my academic achievements, the papers I've presented, the research projects I've presented? What would a bank want to do with that? Instead, I would, probably project a report in which I analyzed some facts and figures. That would make more sense if I'm sending my resume to a bank. Similarly, if you're sending your resume to a core engineering company, probably what you'd like to put over there is something innovative that you did during your engineering. So that is my perspective, that you don't need to make one resume, you need to make a spectrum of resumes to suit each need. So we move on to time management. So what are we going to do? What we will do is, first, we will give you the basic concepts of resume making, and then take you to the next level where you develop your individual resumes, mail them to us, and we have a team of experts which is going to sit down and scan each resume, have an interaction with you, and come up with something that is near perfect. That's something eye-catching, that when a person from a company looks at that resume, he or she is impressed. Right? I hope you get my point. Now, let's move on to the next thing that is absolutely critical, and it's called time management. Now this is something I believe all of us totally need, whether it's you or it's me. Okay, let me ask you a question. Let's suppose I give you an assignment today. Today is Thursday or Friday. And I ask you to submit that assignment next Monday, not this Monday, next Monday. What will you do? I know the standard answer because I've interacted with lots and lots of students like you. The standard answer is, ma'am, we'll start preparing that assignment on Sunday. And not just that, I know some of you are so bold, they tell me, ma'am, we'll start preparing that assignment next Monday morning. Yes, I know that's the way we all work, but I want to show you something slightly different. Just take a look at this.